Opinion 50 Years of Emergency Recalibrating India's Safeguards Against Autocratic Echoes 50 years ago, Indian democracy faced its gravest constitutional threat. The imposition of emergency on June 25, 1975, followed by trampling over dissenting voices and suppression of civil liberties, appeared like the eclipse of a nascent democratic republic's promise with the shadow of autocratic authoritarianism. The 21-month-long censorship of the press, mass arrest, and centralization of power in the hands of an unaccountable executive marked the nadir of Indian democracy. The admission registers of various jails across India, and especially Tihar Jail, Delhi, are a testament to the same. As we reflect on the semi-centennial of the emergency, the shadow of the period looms large. It is important to remember it not as an unpleasant, distant memory but as a cautionary tale, aiding the Republic to navigate future polity. The emergency was the consequential outcome of power-seeking political masters trying to negate the effect of Indira Nehru Gandhi vs Sri Raj Narayan ANR. 1975. Though it was initiated by the executive branch of the state, it caused institutional paralysis. Rather than being a political aberration, it was a systemic failure of institutional safeguards. The judicial capitulation in ADM Jabalpur v Shivkant Shukla 1976 exposed the fragility of the constitutional guarantee of checks and balances. The judiciary completely surrendered itself to the whims and fancies of the executive branch of state by declaring that habeas corpus could be suspended during emergencies. The legislative branch was no different. Parliament, bent in subservience, became a rubber stamp of the executive, losing its conscience. The press, regarded as the fourth and unalienable pillar of democracy, succumbed to censorship, barring a few notable exceptions. The ones who withstood the test of time, Jhr Khanna from the judiciary or the Indian Express from the media, are the North Stars of Indian democracy. Indian democracy has demonstrated remarkable resilience since its inception. The democratic republic, guaranteed and operating within the constitutional framework, has kept its promises, except for just one aberration, which too was 50 years ago. The current administration has emphasized governance reforms and national security, citing the electoral mandate as a basis for policy decisions. However, the robustness of democracy lies not just in the outcome but also in the process that sustains it. No parallel exists in Indian constitutional political history to the emergency suspension of rights. However, constitutional scholars have shown concerns pertaining to expansive interpretations of executive power, delayed judicial appointments, the use of stringent laws against dissent, and reduced quality of debates in Parliament. There is always a threat to democracy with the centralization of power, consequently resulting in the weakening of autonomous bodies like the Election Commission and coercive, one-sided action of investigative agencies against the opposition. The diminished quality of debate is a major concern in any mature democracy. Parliament has started running on bluster and name-calling. The shrinking space for parliamentary debates is concerning for democracy. The Speaker, Om Birla, while speaking to Hindustan Times, says, lawmakers must enhance people's faith in Parliament. The advice of seniors should be taken seriously. The mainstream media appears susceptible to majoritarian narratives due to the race for television rating points (TRP). This fails in its crucial role as a watchdog of democracy. The executive and conventional media have not successfully countered the pervasive misinformation and disinformation due to the rise of social media. More information will counter misinformation is a naive view of information. This pressing issue needs a strategic response from the state. A thriving democracy requires foresighted leadership coupled with strong institutional safeguards to be sustained. The Supreme Court of India should maintain civil liberties on a high pedestal, and an objective test should be developed to ensure the validity of detentions. When it comes to criticism of the judiciary, the wide, unchecked discretion brings the judiciary into the spotlight. The judiciary should frame objective parameters for its executive and judicial functions. The appointment and transfer of judges, vis-a-vis case allotment, should be based on well-devised objective checks. The judicial appointments must be insulated from executive interference, but to ensure the credibility of the judicial appointments, the judiciary should go through internal reforms. This will give the judiciary a moral ground. The judiciary is the custodian of the Constitution. Naturally, expectations would be high. The institution should remember that sunlight is the best disinfectant. The decline of parliamentary debates reflects hasty legislation with minimal parliamentary scrutiny. A constructive and empowered opposition plays a seminal role in a democratic form of polity. Constructive opposition is a pro-people voice in parliament. Cross-party committees and adherence to legislative deliberations are non-negotiable for executive accountability. The parliamentary composition should also be carefully looked at. 93% of the candidates who won the 2024 Lok Sabha elections are millionaires. As per the 2023 report of the Association of Democratic Reforms ADR, 40 of MPs, or 306 parliamentarians, have declared criminal cases, and around 25 of MPs, or 194 parliamentarians, have declared serious criminal cases against them in their election affidavits. The report also showed that the average worth of assets per parliamentarian from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha was 38.33 rupees crore, and 7 were billionaires. The problem is even more severe in Telangana, followed by Andhra Pradesh. In Telangana, the average assets of a parliamentarian are 262.26 rupees crore, and in Andhra Pradesh, it is 150.76 rupees crore. For a representative democracy, Parliament also has to be protected from the elite, wealth-concentrated demographics' undue influence. Press freedom is democracy's first line of defense. Laws like the Press Council Act, 1978, must be strengthened. The civil societies must be strengthened. The emergency saw centralization and consolidation of power in one hand. Cooperative federalism must be more than a slogan in everyday politics. The constructive lesson from the emergency is about recognizing what causes the erosion of democracy, and the erosion is often incremental for the democratic health of a country. In functioning democracies, the first line of the problem is legalistic repression. The Indian Constitution was drafted with profound foresight, but Dr. Ambedkar's message delivered to the whole nation on November 25, 1949, speaking in CAD, must be taken seriously when he says, however good a constitution may be, it is sure to turn out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be a bad lot. However bad a constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. The working of a constitution does not depend wholly upon the nature of the constitution. Therefore, the parchment barriers do not suffice to keep the country on a democratic track. Rather, the constitutional spirit is important to be carried in life and spirit. Swipe left for next video. The Constitution is only as strong as its defenders. To prevent democratic backsliding, India must recalibrate institutional safeguards. The 50th anniversary of the emergency must not be taken as nostalgia but as a time of reaffirmation and commitment to the constitutional ideals and values. The foresight requires strengthening the spirit of the Constitution rather than mere statutory reforms. The question is not whether history will repeat itself, but whether we have learned sufficiently from the past to stop it. Pranjal Chaturvedi is a doctoral research fellow at Bennett University. His X handle is Pranjaladv_. The views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the authors. They do not necessarily reflect News 18's views. Latest blogs.